They told you Africa was broken, that its wisdom was lost, that real spirituality came from the East or the West, but never from the mother of civilization herself. What if everything you thought was primitive was actually advanced? From the heart of Africa, a spiritual legacy has been whispering through time, not in temples, but in thunder, in rivers, in the rhythm of drums and the silence of ancestors. The Yorùbá people didn't just believe in the divine, they lived it. Every choice, every gesture, every breath was aligned with forces older than history and deeper than doctrine. But why haven't you heard this before? Because true wisdom isn't loud. It survives in secret. And now it's ready to speak. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover a spiritual system that doesn't ask you to surrender. It asks you to remember. A map that connects you to the divine through nature, rhythm, purpose, and ancestry. This is not folklore. This is a living science of the soul, and it just might awaken a part of you that's been waiting all along. African roots. Who are the Yorùbá? You can't talk about Africa's spiritual and cultural wealth without mentioning one of its most powerful legacies, the Yorùbá people. Mostly found in Nigeria, but also in parts of Benin and Togo, the Yorùbá are more than just an ethnic group. They are a living archive of ancient wisdom. Their traditions run deep, woven into every part of their daily lives, from how they speak to how they connect with the unseen. Cities like Ibadan and Ile-Ife aren't just dots on the map. They're the beating hearts of an ancestral heritage that still breathes through drums, stories, and ceremonies. Ife, especially, is seen as the origin of the world itself in Yorùbá cosmology. So when we ask, who are the Yorùbá, we're really asking, what forgotten knowledge still lives inside us? The Yorùbá have a history that echoes long before colonialism, borders, or textbooks. We're talking about a civilization that stood strong with complex political systems, sophisticated art, and well-organized city-states, while many others were still finding their way. Kingdoms like Oyo rose to power with trade routes, cavalry forces, and a council-based governance model that balanced power better than many modern democracies. They didn't just build cities, they built meaning into the way life was lived. Every king, every elder, every artisan played a role in a larger story. And their stories weren't written in ink. They were sung, sculpted, and danced into memory. That's not just culture, that's living philosophy. Yorùbá society was structured, not around wealth, but around wisdom. Family wasn't just about blood, it was about belonging. A child belonged to the community. Elders were not retired. They were revered, and everyone had a place, from the farmer to the diviner, all connected in a web of sacred responsibility. Daily life wasn't divided from the spiritual, it was spiritual. Even cooking had prayers. Even naming a child was a ceremony. You weren't just living, you were participating in something ancient, something bigger than yourself. And in a world that's constantly disconnecting us, this kind of rootedness hits different. The Yorùbá view of spirituality is not about rules and fear. It's about alignment and purpose. At the center of their belief system is Olódùmarè, the supreme creator, beyond time and form. But here's what makes it powerful. Olódùmarè isn't distant. You don't need to be perfect to connect. Instead, you build that connection through your ori, your inner head, your consciousness, your destiny. It's not about obeying out of fear. It's about understanding your role in the dance of life. You don't ask for miracles. You become the miracle when you walk in alignment with your soul. In Yorùbá thought, the divine and the human are partners. Yes, you read that right. The Creator doesn't demand worship. The Creator wants you to remember who you are. This idea flips the script. You're not just a follower, you're a co-creator. And that means your life choices matter, your habits matter, your energy matters. That little voice inside guiding you, that's your Ori speaking. Want to reconnect? Try journaling, spending time in nature, or even learning a Yoruba chant. Don't just wait for signs, learn to read them. That's where your power begins. And then we have the Òrìṣàs, the spiritual forces that shape nature and human experience. These aren't gods in the Western sense. They're energies, archetypes, frequencies. Zango is fire, justice, thunder. Osoyosi is the forest, the hunt, the search for truth. Yemoja is the ocean, the mother, the emotional current. When you connect with an Òrìṣà, you're syncing with a natural law. And here's the twist. Many of us already feel drawn to one or more of them without even realizing it. That pull you feel toward rain, or the wind, or the full moon, maybe it's not random. Maybe it's a whisper from something deeper. In Yoruba land, spiritual practice is alive, literally. You don't just pray, you participate. Ceremonies involve drumming, dancing, singing, offering food, and calling on ancestral memory. It's not about being solemn, it's about being present. Imagine a celebration where the community becomes a channel and the rhythm becomes a language. That's not a performance, that's communion. People don't go to temples just to ask for help. They go to stay in alignment, to show gratitude, to remember that they are never alone. And in that rhythm, in that fire, in that song, something ancient wakes up. The Yoruba spirituality and Olodumare. In Yoruba spirituality, there's no separation between the divine and daily life. Everything is connected. When the Yoruba speak of Olodumare, they're not talking about a figure in the clouds or a distant ruler. They're talking about the source, the origin of all that exists. Olodumare is the breath behind every breeze, the silence in every pause, the mystery behind every answer. But here's the beauty. This supreme force doesn't need temples to be felt. It lives in the soil, the rain, the sunrise, and yes, even in you. For the Yoruba, every moment can be sacred if you're paying attention. Belief in Olodumare isn't passive, it's a way of life. Unlike many traditions where divinity is something external, far off, unreachable, here it is intimate. You're not just looking for God, you're walking with God. Olodumare is the beginning and the return. It's what gives purpose to existence, breath to the spirit, and rhythm to time. This isn't just philosophy, it's a map that helps you navigate hardship, decision-making, and self-discovery. Imagine waking up each day not asking, "What should I do?" but instead, "What was I meant to do?" That's a whole different kind of power. This connection to the divine influences every layer of Yoruba society. Marriage, naming ceremonies, farming, healing, all have a spiritual root. You don't plant a seed without asking the earth for permission. You don't name a child without consulting the spirits. Why? Because life isn't random. It's designed, and when you honor that design, things flow. Even challenges become messages. One small ritual, like offering water to the ancestors or speaking a morning prayer to your Ori, can shift your entire day. Not because it's magic, but because it centers you in a higher purpose. Now let's talk about Ori, your inner head, your spiritual GPS. In Yoruba thought, your Ori is more important than any external god. Let that sink in. Your destiny is already inscribed in your spirit, but it's up to you to activate it. That's why listening to your intuition is more than self-care. It's sacred responsibility. Every decision you make either aligns with your destiny or pulls you away from it. Want to get closer to your true path? Start treating your thoughts like seeds. Feed them with knowledge. Water them with discipline. Protect them from negativity like a farmer protects his crops. There's a reason why the Yoruba don't see life as linear. Time moves in circles. The past walks with the present, and the future listens to both. This worldview is deeply spiritual. It reminds you that everything matters, that nothing is wasted. The tear you cried last year might be the river that feeds your breakthrough tomorrow. This is why gratitude, even in hard times, is considered a form of worship. It acknowledges that life isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. And when you see life that way, even the storms feel like sacred winds, guiding you home. One of the most powerful aspects of Yoruba spirituality is the belief that humans are not alone in this journey. Ancestors walk beside us, Òrìṣàs guide us, and Olódùmarè breathes through us. Think about that for a second. How different would your choices be if you truly believed you were backed by a divine team? Would you still second-guess yourself? Would you still wait for permission to grow? Probably not. That's the medicine Yoruba wisdom offers. Not just answers, but confidence. Confidence rooted in the understanding that you were never meant to walk this life confused and disconnected. So, where does all this leave us? With an invitation, not just to believe, but to remember. Remember your essence. Remember that you're not here by accident, that life isn't chaos, it's choreography. And the more you listen, the more you feel that rhythm pulling you towards something bigger. The Yoruba don't just offer a belief system, they offer a compass. One that still points north even in modern times. And just when you think you've understood it all, you begin to feel the pull of the Òrìṣàs, forces of nature and spiritual guides. The Òrìṣàs aren't just spiritual beings, they're living forces, each echoing a piece of nature and a piece of you. In Yoruba belief, they are manifestations of Olódùmarè's energy, helping humans navigate life's journey. But don't mistake them for the gods of mythology books. They're not up in the clouds. They're in the rivers, the winds, the lightning, the rhythm of your heartbeat. Each Òrìṣà represents a principle of life. When you connect with one, you're aligning yourself with that energy. And often, you don't choose them, they choose you. Through dreams, patterns, or the strange magnetic pull, you can't explain. Let's look at some of the main Òrìṣàs. Ṣàngó is thunder, fire, and justice. He doesn't just strike down, he balances. He teaches you to stand firm, to protect truth, and to face what others fear. Òrìṣà is the hunter, not just of animals, but of knowledge, of paths, of unseen opportunity. Yemoja is the ocean, the great mother, the healer of wounds you didn't know you had. Ọbàtálá is wisdom and peace, the calm before the storm and the silence that holds answers. Each of these Òrìṣàs represents something you've probably wrestled with. That's the beauty. They're not distant. They are your inner struggles and strengths, personified. The way Òrìṣàs act in people's lives is deeply personal. One person may feel Ṣàngó in the fire of their voice when they speak truth. Another may feel Òsùn in the way they nurture beauty and connection. And this isn't fantasy, it's frequency. You're tuning into a spiritual station that's been playing long before you were born. That feeling you get when you're near water and suddenly feel peace. That might be Yemoja, that chill that comes right before a breakthrough. Maybe Ọbàtálá's calm. The more you learn to listen to life, the more you'll recognize who's been speaking through it. Now, how are the Òrìṣàs honored in Africa? Not with silence and solemnity, with music, movement, and devotion. Drums aren't just instruments, they're a language. Dances aren't just steps, they're sacred communication. Offerings are made, not as payment, but as partnership. You give to the Òrìṣà like you would to a friend who's helped you survive. Foods, songs, herbs, even colors, each has meaning, each opens a door. It's not superstition, it's tradition refined over generations. And the most powerful part? These ceremonies are communal. When one person honors an Òrìṣà, the whole village rises in vibration. Every Òrìṣà has symbols and preferences, not for control, but for connection. Yemoja loves calm waters and white flowers. Òsùn connects through the forest and fresh leaves. Ṣàngó dances with fire, drums, and red. These aren't random aesthetics. They're vibrations, ways to harmonize your life with theirs. So if you're drawn to a certain color, element, or place, explore that. There might be something deeper calling. Maybe you feel brave in red, or safe in the woods, or healed by the ocean. Those aren't accidents. They're spiritual fingerprints. What's also fascinating is that each person has an Òrìṣàs that rules their head, a kind of spiritual guardian. This connection isn't just symbolic. It shapes your personality, your strengths, and even your life challenges. Some people are naturally fiery, bold, and just, Sango types. Others are nurturing, calm, and emotional, Yemoja types. Discovering your Òrìṣàs can feel like meeting yourself again. And if you're wondering how to find out yours, traditional consultations like Ifa divination are the key. But even before that, pay attention to your natural tendencies. They're already whispering hints when you start to see the Òrìṣàs not as separate beings, but as parts of you. Your fire, your flow, your wisdom, your instinct. Life begins to make more sense. You're no longer just reacting. You're recognizing, and with that recognition comes power. You walk differently, you choose differently, you even breathe differently. That's the kind of transformation the Yorùbá path offers, not just spiritual identity, but spiritual integration. And once you realize these Òrìṣàs aren't outside you, you'll start to wonder what other hidden powers might live within your Ori. Rituals, traditions, and connection with ancestors. Rituals in Yorùbá culture aren't just spiritual activities. They are life itself, spoken through rhythm, color, movement, and memory. Everything has meaning. Everything is part of the story. A simple clap, a bowl of water, a whispered name. These aren't random gestures. They are keys to the invisible. In the Yorùbá world, rituals are the bridge between what we see and what we know deep inside. Whether it's a birth, a healing, or a farewell, there is a sacred way to do it. Ritual is not just ceremony, it's alignment. Alignment with nature, with ancestors, and with the divine map already printed in your spirit. Initiation is one of the most sacred passages in Yorùbá tradition. It's not about joining a group, it's about remembering who you were before, the noise of the world. Through rituals that include prayer, offerings, chants, and symbolic dress, initiates are reborn. They learn to walk differently, speak with intention, and listen with the soul. It's deep work. You don't just gain knowledge, you shed layers of fear, confusion, and false identity. In a world obsessed with quick fixes, initiation is a slow, sacred unveiling. And sometimes, the most powerful healing begins, not with answers, but with sacred questions. Offerings in Yorùbá practice are not bribes or fear-based sacrifices. They are conversations. When you give honey to Osun, or water to Yemoja, or roasted corn to Oso Osi, you're not paying them off. You're acknowledging the relationship. Offerings are a way of saying, I remember. And in return, these forces remember you. It's about mutual respect. It's about showing up for the unseen forces that have been showing up for you, quietly, for years. Want to start simple? Offer clean water to your ancestors, speak their names, light a candle. The response may be subtle, a dream, a breeze, a sudden clarity. Dance and song in Yorùbá tradition are more than art. They are prayer in motion. Each drumbeat holds a message. Each movement tells a myth. You're not just watching, you're participating in an ancient conversation. When the community gathers and the rhythm starts, something opens. The boundary between this world and the next becomes thin. The body remembers, the spirit rises. You don't need to understand every word to feel it. The frequency speaks before the language. And sometimes, healing comes not through thinking, but through moving, through letting the music do the talking. One of the most powerful concepts in Yorùbá wisdom is Ori, your inner head, your personal destiny. It's not your brain, it's your higher self, the part of you that chose this life, this body, this journey. Honoring your Ori means honoring your truth, your intuition, your alignment. In ritual, the Ori is fed, literally and spiritually. offerings are made to your own head, because without Ori, no Risa can help you. Think about that. Even divine forces need your permission, your readiness. So if you feel lost, start with your Ori. Speak to it, apologize to it, thank it. It's listening. The ancestors in Yoruba tradition are not just remembered, they are consulted. They are a part of the family, even after death. You call on them not just with grief, but with purpose. Ancestors hold keys to your strength. They've walked paths you now face. In many rituals, the first words are not prayers to gods, but greetings to those who came before. And if your bloodline has pain, that too can be healed. You become the one who breaks patterns and builds new ones, all by remembering. And remembering isn't just a thought, it's an action. A ritual, a return, collective memory matters. In Yoruba thought, forgetting your past is like cutting the roots of a tree. It looks fine for a while, until it dries out. That's why names, songs, and stories are passed down like sacred scrolls. Children grow up knowing not just who they are, but whose they are. This memory isn't nostalgic, it's protective. It keeps your spirit from wandering. So when you sing that old song your grandmother loved, or cook that meal she always made, you're not just honoring her, you're invoking her. And from that sacred act, the next part of your spiritual story begins. A living heritage, how Yoruba culture echoes in Brazil and around the world. The Yoruba legacy didn't stay in Africa. It traveled, survived, and evolved. Through the brutal history of the transatlantic slave trade, Yoruba people were taken by force to Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, and beyond. But here's the miracle: their culture didn't die. It adapted, it found new forms, new rhythms, new names. In Brazil, it became candomblé, in Cuba, Santeria, in Trinidad, Shango Baptist. And yet, the core remains the same, a devotion to the divine within nature, to ancestors, to destiny, and to community. This isn't just survival, it's resistance. And resistance is sacred. In Brazil, you can walk into a terreiro in Salvador and feel Ife in the air. The drumming, the songs in Yoruba, the dance of the Òrìṣàs, it's all still there, passed from tongue to tongue, heart to heart. Even after centuries of oppression, bans, and cultural erasure, the rituals live. Elders still teach how to prepare sacred herbs. Children still learn the rhythms of the atabaque. Candomblé isn't a copy, it's a continuation. And for many, it's a way to remember a lineage that history tried to silence. Through every chant they say, "I am still here." And that is power. But this spiritual memory didn't just hide, it influenced. Brazilian music, food, slang, and even carnival traditions carry Yoruba fingerprints. From the sound of the berimbau in capoeira to the taste of acarajé on the streets of Bahia, the spirit speaks. You don't have to be initiated to feel it. You just have to pay attention. When your body sways to a rhythm you didn't learn, or when your soul stirs at a drum beat, that might be memory waking up, a memory older than your name. This is cultural DNA. It moves in silence, and when activated, it transforms everything. Religions like Umbanda emerged by blending Yoruba elements with Catholic saints, indigenous wisdom, and spiritism. This mixing was survival. It was strategy. When the enslaved were told to forget, their Òrìṣàs, they placed them behind the faces of saints. Zango behind Saint Jerome, Yemoja behind Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception. The outside world saw compliance, but underneath the fire burned on. This syncretism wasn't dilution, it was disguise, a mask worn until it was safe to speak truth again. And today, the mask is off. The Òrìṣàs are speaking their names, loud and clear. What's beautiful about Yoruba culture in the diaspora is how it reclaims pride. For generations, people were told to feel ashamed of their ancestry, their practices, their language. But now, the tide is turning. Afro-Brazilians are wearing their beads with pride. They're learning Yoruba phrases. They're honoring ancestors openly, and this isn't nostalgia, it's healing. When someone says Mo Juba today, they're not just greeting, they're reconnecting, they're reclaiming the power that was taken. And from that power, new movements, art and stories are being born. The Yoruba tradition is living proof that culture is not something you keep in a museum. It breathes, it adapts, it teaches, it survives storms and crosses oceans. And perhaps, most importantly, it invites. Even if your bloodline isn't Yoruba, your spirit might feel drawn to its wisdom. And that's no coincidence. The Yoruba say that everyone has a destiny, and sometimes that destiny includes remembering. Remembering your sacred rhythm, your forgotten rituals, your hidden name. The question is, are you listening when it calls? Because once you hear the drums, really hear them, something shifts, something ancient stirs in the body. And you begin to see that the Yoruba story isn't just their story. It's ours, it's yours, it's humanity's. And if you follow that rhythm, if you honor that call, well, the next chapter isn't written in a book, it's written in you. So now that you've heard the drums, what will you do with the rhythm? Will you let this wisdom pass like another story on your feed? Or will you stop and listen to the message meant for you? Because this isn't just history. This is a mirror, a call, a key. And maybe, just maybe, your soul has been waiting for this very moment to remember who you truly are. What if your anxiety isn't just stress, but a disconnection from your ori? What if the answers you're chasing outside are already echoing within you, in your body, in your dreams, in your lineage? The Yoruba path isn't about believing more. It's about remembering deeper. So, are you ready to reconnect with your destiny? To honor your ancestors, listen to your intuition, and walk with nature as your ally? Drop a comment. Tell us what part of this story resonated with you the most. And if you felt something awaken inside you, do one small thing today. Subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, and let this journey continue. This isn't the end. It's the return to where everything begins.